Hi, welcome back to Soul Light Reflections. I was just in the middle of watching a movie and I literally paused it because I had to run into my bedroom and I felt so called to record this episode right here, right now. I am on the verge of tears, to be 100% honest. My heart is beating so fast because I have been watching the movie It Ends With Us. And I hadn't seen it before. I've seen people talking about it and I just have not been in a place where I felt like I was ready to watch it. And I had some time alone today and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to watch a movie. And that's the one I ended up choosing. I believe that it's all divine guidance, divine timing that I watched this while I was alone at home, while I had time to process. Because now it's led me to recording this podcast episode. And I think this is going to be really cathartic and also really, really challenging to relay. To share my story of being with an abusive narcissist who was textbook psychopath. And I really do not say that lightly. I have never before publicly shared about my ex-boyfriend. This is not my ex-husband. Let's make that really straight. My ex-husband and I were high school sweethearts. We got married, and then a year after getting married, we were separated. There was a lot of mental and emotional stuff going on that I will never have closure from. Definitely not a healthy relationship, but it was not physically abusive. So that is not the person I'm talking about. I'm talking about the man that I met literally like 2 weeks after moving to Portland. So, okay. I guess I'm just going to get right into it. 2 minutes into recording this episode, just balls to the wall. Let's go. I don't know. I am just feeling so fucking fired up. I'm not even done watching that movie and this feels so important. Like my soul is screaming at me like it's time. It's time to share this story. It's time to really truly be the light and be there for women who don't feel like they have a voice, who don't feel like they have a say in their experience. My third eye is just lighting up right now, which I take as divine guidance to continue. I want to take a moment to call in my guides. I usually would do this silently, but you know what? We're really just going for it in this episode. So I'm taking a moment to call in my guides, my higher self, the universe, any energies or entities that have my highest good at heart, to protect me as I share this story, to guide me, to surround me with nothing but love and high vibrations, and to make sure that any lower energy entities do not have access to my energy field or this space that I'm in. Let those lower energies or entities be sent to source for healing so that they may return at a higher vibration. My intention with sharing this story is to empower other women that may experience something similar. My intention is to bare my heart, as I always do. My intention is to shine a little bit of light of how common this unfortunately is and that we can do something about it. Okay, so we'll start from the beginning. I met this boyfriend right after moving to Portland. I moved to Portland in 2020, September 2020, and I had finally filed for divorce like just a couple weeks before I moved. Moved to Portland, and within 2 weeks of moving there, I was invited to a dinner party by the bartender at this bar that was downstairs in my apartment building. And he was like, hey, we're having this party at my friend's like vintage mansion. And my best friend and I were like, okay, yeah, we'll go. Sounds fancy. So we got all dressed up and we went. Turns out the man that I ended up dating, it was his house. Well, it was his parents' house, and he lived there at the time. It was a gorgeous, like, true vintage mansion. But there was always something a little bit eerie about it. And I kind of chose to put that to the side because I'm like, well, it's really old. Like, who knows what has happened in this place, you know? Even just saying that, like, whew. And I thought he was really cute and really well-mannered, and basically in a lot of ways the opposite of what my ex-husband showed me. So I became infatuated so quickly after going on just a couple of dates with this guy. He was super kind. He was very courteous. He was well-mannered. We went on really fun dates. And his family was fucking loaded. Like, let's just set that straight. And for sure, like, when you get to do really cool experiences, of course, it's going to blind you a little bit, right? And I never saw the lies as they were coming to me. I was completely blindsided because I would start to get an inkling of intuition of, oh, that doesn't really line up, something he would tell me or something. And my intuition was like, red alert, red alert. And I just was like, no, like, it makes sense, whatever he told me, because he was so charismatic and so just like had an answer for everything. And I was blinded because this relationship felt so different than my relationship that I had just gotten out of. I felt heard. I felt seen. We were able to have really calm conversations about feelings and our experiences in life and intellectual conversations, and we had a lot of fun. We went on cool dates. He also had a pilot's license, so he would like take me up in his like parents' little mini jet. It was like nothing crazy. It was like a little, I don't know, 1970s jet or something, but it was cool. Like, don't get me wrong. We went up in that a lot. One time we literally flew to a hike on the Oregon coast. Like, we flew on our own just to go hiking. Like, and the dates weren't always that crazy, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I mean, I definitely was blinded a little bit from that. And then little things would come up here and there that didn't seem 100% right, but I was like, oh, whatever, his story checks out. One particular example is I had driven to Colorado from Portland, and I was driving back up, and it was our friend's birthday party, and I didn't want to miss it. So I was like, okay, I'll come back up before then. So I came back up I got home the night before. And then I texted my ex-boyfriend and I said, hey, haven't heard anything about Chris's party. Like, what's the plan? And he goes, oh, actually, it turned into just a guy's night. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, I haven't heard that. He's like, yeah, no, it's just going to be like me and him and like a couple guy friends. Like, sorry. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I literally came back in time just for that. But I mean, I guess, like, I'm never going to tell you can't hang out with your friends, right? And so I was really, really bummed. And I just was like, all right, I guess I'm just going to like chill at home. And come to find out, I didn't know anything about that. And then the next day, I saw on an Instagram story of the birthday boy's girlfriend a video of them walking down the street, and my ex-boyfriend was in front of her. And I'm like, oh, well, obviously she was there. And then I see another video with another girlfriend there, and I'm like, oh, that's odd. Like, there were girls there. So I confront him, and he made up this elaborate story, like on the spot immediately, which seemed maybe feasible. He said, oh, well, yeah, they ended up stopping by, but it actually ended up being a problem because I cooked for everyone and we didn't even have enough food for everyone at that point. And so that was a bummer. And like, I'm really sorry. I didn't know they were going to come. Like, you definitely could have come. And I just was like, okay, well, that sucks because I literally just chilled at home all night. But I believed him because I didn't really think I had reason not to believe him. Come to find out, months later, after we had broken up, I had the two girlfriends of the other friends over for dinner, like maybe a month after we broke up. Come to find out, that night ended up being complete debauchery and was always supposed to be. Like, they ended up getting a ton of coke and they were like balls to the wall. Everyone was like off their face. The girls said that like people like woke up in underwear, and I never knew anything about it. Of course not. What I came to find out is that this man cared so fucking much about his image and like the prestige that like he would lie through his teeth at fucking anything he could. And there's just so many aspects to this story. This is like nothing compared to the shit that really went down. I'll get there. But the point here is that I should have fucking known. I should have fucking known. Because all the way back, I only dated this guy for 6 months, mind you. But all the way back to within the first month of us dating, we were at a Halloween party in the bar downstairs at my apartment building, which is where I met like his best friend who introduced us. And we went up to my apartment for, I don't remember what. And my dog ended up having an accident on my bed. And like that should have also been a major red flag because she's fully potty trained. And yeah, she has some anxiety. So like in the past, she's had little baby accidents here and there, like not frequent, like maybe like once a year, literally. But she like peed on my bed and he was in my room. And I was like, oh, wait, like, oh my God. And I was really worried because I was like, she doesn't do this. She doesn't just do this, especially not on my bed. And again, she was telling me, I should have fucking known. I should have fucking known. And I think that like these two little examples, mind you, there are a lot more, but I won't go into all of them. These two little examples are such clear indicators. And it's just like in the movie, It Ends With Us, when she had the answers right in front of her. But she was blinded. She was blinded by the lust and like the excitement of being in this relationship when it was in front of her all along that he was a violent man and that he lied about things. So something that I've never been able to get out of my mind that again should have been a fucking red flag. We were on a hike in Bend, Oregon. Beautiful. If you've never been to Bend, highly recommend. And we were on the edge of this like cliff thing. It like goes really, really far down. And he looks at me and was like, have you ever just like wondered what it would be like to just like push someone off? I'm not fucking kidding you. I'm not fucking kidding you. And I just looked at him and was like, no. What? No. No. I definitely was a little bit, actually, no, I was a bit worried at that point. I'm like, so I kind of stayed behind him. I'm like, what the fuck? Who says that? And then, you know, you just keep on keeping on, and then you don't think much of things again. And then you know, fall back in lust or whatever. And I kind of put that to the side, and I've literally never told anyone that. How much more of a red flag do you really need, right? Like, how much more do you actually need? I just kick myself. It's frankly a little bit embarrassing because I defended this man. I remember I was on the phone with my dad a couple months after we started dating, and I was like, yeah, he's great, this and that, because I truly was like blinded by the fact that it seemed the way he was treating me was so much better than my previous relationship of 11 years. So I didn't know. I was just like, oh my God, this is what it's like. Oh my God, the sex is amazing. Oh my God. Like, and so I was like, there's no way that like, you know, he's shady, this and that. You get so just swept up. And I think it's important to note how much it takes to admit this right now, how hard it is, because like I said, I did not tell anyone some of this stuff. And I'm now coming out with it publicly, but this feels aligned. This feels really important. So here I am. So if you're listening to this and you are someone that's very close in my life, please don't feel like I was purposely hiding things from you. When you go through certain situations like this, you don't feel like you can say anything because you don't want to admit that the pieces were right in front of you. It's frankly embarrassing, and it's something that you have to work through. And it's, like I said, something that I've carried with me for years and years now. But anyway, so I was on the phone with my dad a couple months after we started dating. And I remember saying, gosh, it's crazy. Like, he's so amazing and this and that. And like telling my dad about this guy. And I said, the one thing is that Bali's like weirdly afraid of him. And like, I don't really know why. And I said, it's kind of weird because when I first got Bali, when she was 6 months old, she's always been like really nervous around tall white men, literally always. And I, to this day, think that it was like a premonition because she knew what was coming later in her life. And I'll get there. But I said, yeah, it's really weird. And my dad literally said to me, well, is he like abusing her? Like, is he hitting her? Like, there's got to be something. And I was like, no, like, there's no way. What do you mean? No. And my dad's like, okay, like, just saying. And then another friend of mine, I had like texted a couple friends telling them about him because I was really excited. And I told them that, and they said, well, just make sure she's safe because like dogs' intuitions don't lie. I sit here kicking myself. I should have fucking known. I should have fucking known, right? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. So, plenty of little red flags. Another one was on Valentine's Day. I told him, like, I'm not like a huge fan of Valentine's Day. Like, I think it's a very like, made up holiday. I'd rather you just show your care and your love on other days. However, I said, it's always nice to get like flowers or something, He didn't contact me until evening on Valentine's Day. And then I can't remember if he canceled plans or we just never made plans. He like barely was talking to me on Valentine's Day. I'm like, okay, kind of weird, but whatever. I'll just have Valentine's Day to myself. So that was another, a little bit less clear, but also kind of weird. So anyway, I don't need to get into all of the little tiny details of all of the mini red flags that were everywhere. But the big ones, the glaring ones, I feel are the most, I don't know a better word than embarrassing, honestly. So Bali, my dog, wasn't around him that much. Like, a lot of times he would pick me up and then we'd go out somewhere, like go to his house or something. And every time that she was around him, she was very nervous. Like, she was just not ever chilling. Like, she would like just go in her crate. Or I would put her in her crate and be like, it's okay, this is your safe space. Like, you just chill there. That's okay. I should have fucking listened to her. I literally have cried so much in the last several years about what I kind of knowingly, but like unknowingly put her through. And I'll get into that. But so anyway, there was one time when we stayed the night at his house and I brought her with me. And she slept in a crate downstairs. And I was upstairs in bed. He went downstairs earlier than me to like make coffee or whatever. And I hear like a little like yelp from her. And so I rush down the stairs. I'm like, what the fuck? And I come down and I'm like, what was that? And he's like, I don't know. He's like in the kitchen making coffee. And mind you, I like rushed downstairs. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And he's nowhere near her. She's in her crate. I'm like, that was weird. Like, did she just want to be let out? Like, okay. So I let her out. I'm like, you okay? Whatever. Everything seemed relatively okay. I'm like, all right, weird. And then we were like upstairs getting ready or something. And then once again, he went downstairs before me. And then I came down like right after him. And he's like, oh my God. And she had like peed in like the entryway. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I completely wiped it up, cleaned it up, whatever. I'm like, I'm so sorry. He's like, no, it's no big deal. It's fine. It happens. I'm like, well, it doesn't though. Like, she doesn't usually do this. This is so weird. Like, this is the second time she's had an accident. And I don't know. Like, then we leave his place, that day I was supposed to go get a rental car because I didn't have a car at the time. So I was getting a rental car to drive to the coast to hang out with my friends for 5 days. And so he had to take me home to my apartment, and I had to grab my stuff and leave Bolly's crate and then take her with me. We were going to go to the coast. And he was going to drive me from my apartment to the rental car place. So he comes upstairs, helps me bring my stuff in. And this was like probably, I don't know, 2 hours after like that incident at his house. I'm getting my stuff together. And in this apartment in Portland, there was like a long hallway between like my front door and the kitchen, like living room area. And then like in between was like my bathroom and bedroom. So I'm getting ready to go. And as I'm kind of like walking towards the front door, out of the corner of my eye, oh my God, my heart starts beating so fucking fast. I'm like, Bolly, come here. And out of the corner of my eye, I hear and see him hit her. His glasses flew off his face onto the ground. But it's out of the corner of my eye. So I'm like in my brain, like, did I literally just fucking see and hear what I thought I did? She didn't make a sound, mind you. But like I could hear like the impact of his hand on her wherever, butt or whatever it was. And his glasses flew off his face. So it was not light. And my heart was beating so fucking fast. And I'm like freaking out internally. And so I just basically am like silent on the way to the car rental place. I'm like, keep it together. Just, you're about to be out of town. Get to the rental place, whatever. As I'm picking up the car, I texted him, we need to talk. I'm driving to the coast. He immediately calls me. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? I know that I saw you. And I didn't even tell him it was out of the corner of my eye because I knew that there would be some kind of story, right? I knew what I fucking saw. I felt it. And I said, what the actual fuck? And he swore up and down, no, that's not what happened. And I said, don't fucking lie to me. I saw it. And so he finally fessed up. And his story was, I was still angry at her because of the accident that she had at my house. And I said, that was hours ago. You think she knows that? First of all. Second of all, you don't ever fucking hit an animal. Ever. Now, the thing about that is that in the moment, I don't know if you remember this part of the story, but when she had that accident at his place, he was so nice, so understanding about it. And the thing about narcissists is they are very convincing. They can easily mask the emotions that they're actually feeling underneath and then kind of bottle that up and use that completely against you or someone else in the near future. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. And so essentially I wanted to break up with him then and there. And he swore up and down it would never happen. It's never happened before, because I was questioning everything. I'm like, is this why she's been scared of you? Like, have you, like, what the fuck? And mind you, there were other red flags I should have fucking known. Intuition, this is why I preach over and over. Your intuition does not fucking lie to you. Does not fucking lie. Does not lie. Your intuition does not lie. There would be times at my apartment where he would get out of the shower first. And I'd just like finish up. And 2 times I heard her yelp. And my heart immediately started like beating so fucking fast. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And I got done so fast, like ran out of the shower, I'd run into the living room and be like, what happened? What the fuck? He'd be like, I don't, like, he would always be either just like chilling on the couch or like it never looked suspicious. And he'd be like, I don't know, like I went to pet her. She got freaked out. And again, I've never talked about this publicly because it feels shameful. It feels really fucking embarrassing to not listen to my gut. And I could have fucking stopped her from experiencing what she experienced. I should have fucking listened. But I never saw it with my eyes. These instances had happened before I had like the visual proof. And there was one more time before that. It's so embarrassing to say out loud that there were so many times, so many. But again, I was like, he treats me so well. Like, there's no fucking way. I was gaslighting myself. There was one time, oh my God, I can't believe I'm about to share this story. There was one time that we were at my apartment. This was months prior, maybe 2 months prior to when I saw it. And we had ordered pizza, and they wouldn't deliver it to my door. They would only deliver it down to the lobby. So when it got there, I said, oh, do you want to go get it? He's like, no, it's fine. Like, I'll stay here. Like, you can get it. I'm like, okay. Didn't really think much of it. So I go down to the lobby. I'm headed down the hallway on my floor to go to the elevator. And I start hearing yelping, not just one yelp. Like, I start hearing yelping. My heart is beating so fucking fast. And I sprint down the hallway to my door. And I just listen, and it had stopped. I heard nothing. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And if you have ever been in a relationship or a situation with an abuser, with a narcissist, you understand that there's like, you're gaslighting yourself at the same time as like trying to be smart about how you're approaching things, because you know that they'll just try to continue gaslighting you and you might believe it. And so I just was like, do I go in? Like, do I go back? Like, I don't know what the fuck to do right now. And I was like, well, it stopped. So I went back down the hallway. I fucking sprinted to go as fast as I could. I went down the elevator. I grabbed the pizzas. I came back up. I sprinted back. And when I get back, she's in her crate, which she wasn't before. And he's just like standing next to my kitchen island. And I said, hey, I heard yelping. Like, what happened? And he's like, what? No, I don't. What are you talking about? And I said, I know what I fucking heard. What was that? What happened? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I was trying to get her to come out of her crate, and like, she's yelped. I'm like, what? Why are you trying to get her to come out of her crate? Like, that's her safe space. He's like, I wanted to pet her. Like, and I'm just like, this doesn't really make sense. And then as I'm like setting the pizzas on the counter, I notice there's fucking pee on the floor next to my kitchen island. And I'm like, what? If you were trying to get her out of her crate, why was she over here? Because she obviously peed over here. So she obviously was not in her fucking crate the whole time. And he had no answer for it. He's like, I don't know. He's like, she like was. And then I like kind of chased her around the island. I don't even fucking remember what the fuck he tried to say. And that was my breaking point. And I literally, oh my God, I feel like I'm like airing all the things, but I know that this is going to help someone. So that's why I'm sharing everything, sharing my fucking heart. Fuck, this is not easy. You know, I'm always an open book for things, but this is so fucking hard. So that night, I made sure she was safe the whole night. I never left her side. And I was very firm with boundaries with him. I was like, tell me the fucking truth. Are you hitting my dog? And he said, no, I'm not hitting your dog. Look at me. He would look at me in the eye and say, I am not, and convince me up and down, left and right. I would never do that, anything you can imagine. And it seemed genuine. It genuinely seemed like he was bearing his heart. And again, I never saw any of it. So I'm like, I don't know. But I did fucking know. This is why I preach, listen to your fucking intuition. Because my human self was like, oh, well, I didn't see it, so it's not real. Yes, the fuck it is real. I felt it. And that is way more real than seeing something. Because all I saw was actually the lies where he was not doing anything. So that night, we had a long conversation and I said, look, I heard those yelps and it is now seared into my fucking mind. And I said, that takes me directly back to when I was a child. And my dad had this dog when we lived in an apartment when I was, I don't know, maybe like 8 or 9 years old or something, maybe 8. I was only with him a couple weeks of the year because my parents were divorced. I didn't live in Michigan at the time. And when this dog would have accidents, he would take it into the other room and beat the fucking shit out of it. And I would just be in my room covering my ears, crying. And it would last for like more than like a couple seconds. Like it would last. And the yelps and the cries, and I just would break down every time. And I said, that is exactly what it reminded me of when I heard Bolly doing that. If you ever fucking lay a hand on her, you're done. I made it very fucking clear. When I shared this story, this traumatic fucking story with him, it seemed like he was genuinely holding space for it. Especially compared to my past relationship of 11 years, I genuinely felt heard and seen, and he physically held me in a loving way. It seemed so much like there was empathy there. And he looked me in the eyes and he said, I would never hurt her. And then throughout this entire story of the length of our relationship, which was 6 months, there were times that she would let him pet her. There were times that she would look at him and just like not be scared. The times that are seared into my memory are the times that she was terrified, of course, because that's when my body was reacting. But there actually were times that she was okay with him. And that's what I think gave me hope here and there. Is I said, okay, well, it's not all the time. But it's just the fact that there were so many of those red flags. And I know I don't want to feel guilt and shame about it, but I think I still carry some of that to this day. Truly. To me, it's like if you could do something like that over and over and over again to an animal who's not doing anything, who is literally just chilling, so innocent, literally scared of you. If you can hurt any living being that is scared of you and is doing nothing to you, you are a genuine psychopath. Because you are very obviously doing it to get some sort of rise out of that being. And that's exactly what he was doing. I just sit here and think all those times that I heard those little cries for help. I did try to come and fix the situation and save her, but to me, what I saw, there was nothing to save. And that's the danger of being around a narcissist, is that they convince you that there is nothing. They are so incredibly good at what they do of manipulation. And I promised myself that I would never leave her alone with him again. But then I started trusting him again because he was very convincing. I mean, I keep repeating this, but the way that he treated me was like no one had ever treated me before. I was finding my self-worth again. I was finding how to love myself again. I was finding the way that I deserve to be treated by people and by a partner. And so little by little, I started breaking those promises to myself. I started letting him back over to my home. I started stepping out of the room to go to the bathroom without bringing her with me. And there were times when nothing happened. And so he kind of needed that, right? In order for me to start to trust him again. He was able to weasel his way back in. And since this whole thing, side note, I have had experiences with other textbook narcissists who I have observed the same type of patterns in, where you set firm boundaries and then they weasel their way back in, and then you go, wait, what? No, I didn't mean for that to happen. And now I'm hurt all over again. So anyway, fast forward again. I said, I'm in the car. We had this whole conversation. He swore up and down no, and then admitted it and said, yes, I did. Said did it because he was mad at her for having an accident earlier. And I was like, what the fuck? That doesn't make sense. You don't do that. And I said, I don't want to talk to you the whole time I'm on the coast. Maybe I will reach out again when I get back, but it's not a promise. So we didn't talk for like 5 days. When I got back a couple days later, I said, first of all, you are not welcome in my home. I don't trust you, but I am willing to have a conversation because I still to this day firmly believe that every single human on this planet is inherently good at the very, very core. I know that's a hard pill to swallow for some people, but I genuinely believe that. And I still saw that light within him because we would have conversations where it was clear that he was wounded in some ways, but he never fully let on what had happened in his life. But it was very clear. And it was very clear that he was working on it. He had been in therapy for years, like 10, 15 years or something. Like it seemed like he was a person for self-development. He would journal every single morning. He would listen to tons of self-development podcasts and books and like all the things. And that's why narcissists are so fucking dangerous, is because they convince you and they show you that they're trying. They tell you they're trying, right? But you can't fix them and they can't fix themselves. So he came over. I went in his car. We had a conversation. And he said, look, I'm really fucking sorry. I'm really sorry. I fucked up. I should not have done that. In the days that you were gone, I called my therapist and started sessions again because I guess he hadn't been going to regular sessions, had been just like doing check-ins. He's like, I started going to weekly sessions again. He said, I have realized that I'm a liar. I am a pathological liar. I lie about so many things that don't even fucking matter because I care so much about my image. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call a self-aware narcissist. Be fucking aware. Beware. Convinced me up and down. This was a long conversation. I just sat in the car listening. Told me all the ways that he's already started to change, that he really wants to change, that he's so sorry, da 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 da. Never wanted to hurt you. All the things. But part of that conversation that I still find interesting is that he said, you know, when I was talking to my therapist about what happened, he told me that he thinks that I have narcissistic tendencies. And this man, my ex-boyfriend, sat there, pulled up a list of tendencies from, I don't know, WebMD or something, and said, I'm not a narcissist. I don't do this. And read off every single thing. It was like, this sign or symptom, I don't do that. This sign or symptom, I don't do that. I'm sorry, but only a true fucking narcissist would do that. And I, in my head, was like, wait, he kind of does do some of these things. He kind of actually does. And I'm like, fuck. So I made what I thought was firm boundaries. And I said, you are not welcome in my home. I don't trust you. But I am open to continuing this if you promise that you are working on this. But I'm still really nervous. And he said, absolutely, totally understandable. I will absolutely honor that. Like, very understanding, right? Seemingly understanding. So for the next month, he was not allowed in my apartment. We would go do things still. I thought things were getting better. I thought the lies had stopped. And then about a month later, he picked me up. Before he picked me up, I felt really called to put up my little doggy cam. I was like, something in me was like, I need to set this up before I leave because Bolly was going to be home alone like all day. It honestly was kind of a pain to set up. Like I had to reconnect it to Wi-Fi and do all the things. And I was like, I'm not giving up. I have to set this up. So I did. And then I left. We went to the tulip festival in Oregon, which I still can't look at fucking tulips the same anymore. We get back from our whole day excursion and took a shower. And once again, he was the first fucking one out. I think this was either the second or the third time that this happened. I think it was the second, but I'm not positive, where I heard a yelp and I immediately was like, fuck. Like the second that he got out earlier, I was already like, like everything tightened up and I hurried to get done. Heard that yelp, ran out there. I was like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. Like I just went to pet her. Mind you, again, nothing suspicious, but in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I set up the camera. I will know if something happened because they're in the living room. Thank God. I said, I will know. Kept myself calm. He left like, I don't know, half an hour later or something. The second he leaves, I immediately go to the camera footage. And I see within the span of 1 hour that he was over, I see 3 different attempts at hitting her. My heart. She was in her fucking crate. She was in her crate the whole time because she was terrified of him. This image is seared into my mind. Thank fucking God she was in her crate because there's not like you can't get a lot of momentum to hit anything when your hand can only go so high in a crate. Thank fucking God. What I saw in that video was not only that, but deceiving. At one point, right before he left, he was walking around the living room and I was down that long hallway by my front door. He was walking around the living room going, oh, my chapstick. Like, I don't know where my chapstick is. I'm like, oh, like I can give you a new one. It's no big deal. He's like, no, like I need this one. I'm like, kind of weird, but okay. Like, come to find out on that fucking footage that was one of the times when he was quote unquote looking for his chapstick. I was waiting by the front door. He went over, reached into her crate and smacked her. And before he did that, he literally walked back to the corner where you enter the hallway just to look and make sure that I was not right there. He knew exactly what the fuck he was doing and how much he was deceiving me. It fucking makes my skin crawl. I cringe so, oh my God. I just want to like scream at that girl and say, wake the fuck up. It shouldn't have fucking gotten to that. And I am so fucking glad that was the absolute last straw, because the second I saw that footage, my entire system was like, I fucking told you. But my human self needed that footage, needed that visual. Thank fucking God Bolly was A-okay. Like, again, he couldn't do much when she's in her crate. And her crate's pretty small because she's pretty small. So I texted him and I said, we need to talk. And he immediately called me. And what this man fucking said to me, he said, I know, I have a problem. I said, no fucking shit. What the hell? Because you know what? He knew that camera was there. Because when we were on the way to the Tulip Festival, I told him that I set it up and he saw it there. And what's worse is that at one point during that footage, I saw him move like a plant or something over what he thought was covering it, just enough to where he knew that I wouldn't notice that plant was moved 2 inches over or whatever. He tried. Luckily, I was still able to get it, but he fucking knew. And this is why I do not lightly call him a fucking psychopath. First of all, hurting an animal who is doing absolutely nothing fucking to you, even if they were doing something to you, fuck that. But she was in her safe space, in her crate, and you disturbed that piece purposely. Who knows how many times? I don't even fucking know. This was just what I caught on camera. 3 times within an hour he tried. There was one other time when he tried, but he saw that I was coming, so he just sat down next to her crate, which is also seared into my mind because I could see it on the video. And then I remember that moment when I went around the corner and he's just sitting next to her crate, like pretending like he's trying to pet her. Dogs don't fucking lie. We don't fucking deserve them. And I literally feel like I fucking betrayed her. Like I didn't listen. The way she would look at me, like pleading. She doesn't have a voice. And so, wow, this is a long episode, but the reason that I was so called to record this is because, like I said, I haven't even finished that movie, and my heart and my throat chakra were just screaming, let your story out. Because I don't know what would have been next. It would have been me next. And I did talk to him 2 times. Obviously, that phone call, I completely broke up with him. I said, absolutely not. That was the last straw. Like, I should have fucking known all the things, whatever. I didn't say everything that I felt like I needed to say because I was so in shock. Like, my dog, is my fucking heart and soul. And I know everyone says that, but she has gotten me through everything. She's the one thing that I fought for in my divorce. I left everything, my entire 2-bedroom apartment of shit in LA. I took only my belongings and my dog in my Chevy Equinox and packed that, and that was all I took with me to Portland. She was the only thing I literally fought my ex-husband for because I didn't care about anything else. And so to see and know that I put her through that, it's not fucking fair. So the 2 times that I talked to him after all of this, one time was on the phone, maybe like a week or 2 later. And I basically felt like I needed to say the things that I couldn't say on the phone when I was in shock. And I said, she didn't even do anything to you. Who knows what would happen if I pissed you off? I have never gotten a chance to piss you off yet. Who knows what would happen? He's like, I would never hurt you. And I said, but you would hurt a fucking innocent dog that's doing nothing, that's scared of you? And there was a second time that we met up because, again, I still have so much fucking compassion in my heart, which is a little bit of a flaw, I think. Because for some reason there was something in me that was like, has he gotten help? There's obviously a very wounded fucking soul in there. Has he gotten the help that he needs? And when we met up at a park, I said it needs to be a very fucking public place. Met up at a park, sat on this step, and he said, yeah, I've worked with my therapist. Basically, it was a psychotic break, is what he's saying, and telling me all these things that he's working on. And I just took it with a grain of salt because I'm like, who fucking knows? Obviously, there's all these lies. At that point, I knew about the lies about that party and some other things that the girls had told me. And that day, I felt like I was able to say everything that I needed to say, finally. I felt so proud to stand up to him and to say, how dare you? You built that trust. You constantly gaslit me. All of the things. I was so fucking proud. It was so hard. I took back my power. I have my theories for why this was happening. I think that from a narcissistic point of view, he knew that I was so close to my dog and he felt threatened by that, which to a normal person would make no sense. It's a dog. But one time, another thing that sticks out in my mind is he literally said to me, well, you have to admit you and your dog are like really, really close. And I said, well, yeah, she's literally the only thing that I fought for in my divorce. She's the thing that kept me sane during like COVID quarantine. We would go hike every single day. You know, like she was with me during my most lonely times, of course. And watching this movie, it ends with us, just can't help but think, what if I had stayed? What if I had stayed? First of all, she would not be okay. Guaranteed. Second of all, I would not be okay. Mentally, emotionally, physically, probably abused and trapped. Because like I said, there was a lot of perks. It was fun. We got to do really fucking cool shit. And when it was just me and him, I didn't have that like underlying anxiety versus when Bolly was around. And I should have listened to that. It should have been very clear that it feels so different when it was just me and him versus when she was around. Your dog being around shouldn't give you anxiety. It should make you even more excited. And then a couple months later, I was still friends with his friend, the one that introduced us. And I had told him everything that had happened. A couple months later, that friend tells me, oh, hey, by the way, your ex-boyfriend, Perry, has been spreading rumors that you and I were sleeping together, and that's why you broke up. He couldn't fucking face his own demons. He couldn't even leave it at, oh, we just, parted ways. No, he had to completely throw it back on me when I had nothing but love for him. I trusted. I showed up as the partner that I wanted to be. And then it's thrown back on me like I'm a slut that was cheating on him. And I think that Perry was just mad because Chris and I were still hanging out. He was a friend of mine. So if you happen to be in a situation like this with someone who you don't necessarily have complete proof of what is happening behind the scenes, but you feel intuitively like there's something screaming at you like an alarm, fucking listen. No is a full sentence. Because I don't want to is a full answer. Because it doesn't feel right is a full answer. It will be really fucking hard to release that friendship or relationship. It will take some healing. It will take time. This happened almost 4 years ago. And I am just now publicly sharing a lot of the pieces. Some parts that I had never shared before. It takes time. However, in that time, holy shit. Like, I have met my absolute soulmate. Less than 6 months after breaking up with my ex-boyfriend, I met Max, my current fiance, who loves and adores Bolly, and she loves and adores him. And let me show you the difference here. We had only been seeing each other for like maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. And I said, fuck, I have to tell him that she might be scared of him because he's also very tall. He was 2 inches taller than my ex. And I said, I have to tell him at least the Cliff Notes version so that he can be prepared and be very gentle with her. So I did. And he said, thank you for sharing. That was the first thing he said. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for speaking your heart. I really appreciate that. And that alone, I was like, literally mind blown. I'm like, you're thanking me? No, thank you for listening. What? And so when he came over, she barked for like a second. And then she already was way more at ease with him than she ever was with Perry over 6 months. And when Max sat on the couch, after a little bit, maybe, 20 minutes, she came over. She rested her head on his lap and just looked up at him. And my fucking heart just melted. I was like, oh my God, he must be good. She trusts him immediately. And I said, okay, not all relationships have to be so deceiving. Not all relationships have to end in turmoil. And I was like, okay, there's hope. Because that is exactly what she did to me when I first got her at the shelter. She literally, when they brought her into the room to meet us out of her little cage, she walked up and she put her head on my lap and just looked up at me as well. And I was like, fuck, this is my girl. And she did that to him the first time meeting him, to Max. So if you are in a situation, first of all, if you need help, you are not safe, please reach out to me. We will figure something out to help you. Please. If you don't feel safe, messaging and saying what's going on, send me a message on Instagram. Let's come up with a little code here. Send me a dog emoji. Just a dog. You don't even have to say a word. Send a dog emoji. And we will figure out a way to talk. And we will get you safe. And if you're in a situation where you feel like there's something, but you're not quite ready to let go, Start finding some proof, but do it safely. Don't go like, trying to break into someone's phone or computer or whatever, trying to look for proof of whatever. Find it through your intuition. Talk to your spirit guides, talk to the universe. They will help you. Ask for clear signs. And if you don't get it, but that intuitive feel gets stronger, fucking listen. Please listen. You could save yourself so much trauma, so much hurt, so many years of processing. And I want you to remember that you are not ever, ever, ever alone. So many more people go through these things that don't ever say anything or ever share their story because they're scared of what might happen. Understandably. You have to keep yourself safe, of course. And that is number one. If you are in a situation and you feel like you need to get out soon, I think that like little things like starting to save some money on the side is really important. Reaching out to friends who you might be able to stay with out of town. Blocking someone's number on your phone, blocking them from seeing your location, blocking them from social media. Getting a different phone or a different phone number if you need to. But more than anything, let your intuition guide the way because it will never, ever lead you astray. Now, the thing about these situations is that a lot of times, because of the manipulation, because of the gaslighting, because of the tactics that these type of people will use on you, you might not get very strong mental inklings about these things. And so it's even more important to pay attention closely to how your body is reacting and responding in the moment, how your internal system feels around this person or these people. And some symptoms maybe to look out for are if your heart starts racing, if your eyes just like can't seem to gaze softly, if your eyes just are very overactive, if your palms get a little bit clammy, if your muscles start to tense up in maybe your shoulders or your jaw or your hips or your belly or your toes or your ankles. If you start to get aches and pains when you're around certain people or after being around certain people. If you get major headaches during your time or after your time with this person. Pay close attention. And that's just a handful of some things that are very common to feel, but your body will tell you what's up. I want you to think about it like this. When a bear is coming at you, your body reacts first, and then your mind goes, oh my God, that's a bear. I gotta go. But what's happening first is internal. Your pupils might dilate, your heart starts racing, your palms get sweaty. The body will always react with a somatic response first, and it is imperative to listen. Your body is so intelligent, even when the mind is confused. Because the body is a representation of what the spirit is feeling and going through. I don't wish what I went through on fucking anyone. And I know that my situation is mild compared to some people, a lot of people. And I'm very grateful to say that. I know that I'm privileged to say that. And it could have easily gotten so much worse, so much faster. It is hard to know that he was and maybe still is continuing to spread lies about why our relationship ended or about who I am. It's really fucking sad. It sucks when you know that someone is talking shit about you when they were completely in the wrong, when you actually did absolutely fucking nothing. That's been a lot of my work in the last few years, is letting go of that, releasing that, and focusing on my incredible, strong relationship that I have now. And I firmly believe that in this lifetime, we go through certain things because that's our divine path. It's how it needs to be in order to be the person that we get to be from that point forward. I learned so much in that 6-month relationship about myself, about trusting my intuition. I learned so much. Even I got some positives from it. I learned how I want to show up as a partner. I learned what the good parts of a relationship really can look like, that you should get treated with love and respect and compassion and have fun, and that the sex should be fucking awesome. And as much as I would like to, I don't sit here and hate him. I really don't. I don't have any hate in my heart for that person. I wish I could sometimes. Because what kind of person fucking does that? A really wounded one. A really, really wounded one. I have no idea what has happened to get him to that point, because I really didn't get a huge glimpse into like his childhood, for instance. I really didn't. Just little bits here and there. What I know is that he's from a very wealthy family, but he would never act like it. Yeah, we would do cool things, but he was always like, that's my parents' money. It's not mine. This is the money that I work for. And always had a job and went to grad school and did all the things. And again, these are aspects that I saw that I was like, oh, wow. Like, he's very humble. He is very grounded, what I thought. But this was all a facade that he was putting on. This is all what he wanted me to see. And that's how narcissists work. And it's important to mention that since then, since being with Max, there's been a couple of friends that have come into our lives that come to find out we're narcissists. And they got so close to me. They leached onto me. And in some aspects had similar experiences, obviously not the same, but like there were some aspects of it that I was like, wait a second, this is seeming a little fishy. And eventually it got to the point where I said, oh, I should have listened to my intuition. Again, these were more lessons. So it happened multiple times until finally I said, okay, trust your intuition, trust your inner compass on what people you need to be interacting with, how much you need to be sharing with certain people, what roles certain people have in your life. And once I really, by the third time, realized that, I stopped getting these narcissists trying to get close to me. Interesting how that works, huh? Because I no longer allow it to happen. I now trust that I can absolutely see right through it, and I don't trust certain people. Not that all narcissists are dangerous per se, but to your psyche, yeah, they can absolutely all be dangerous, especially the self-aware ones, because they know exactly what they're doing. They are very calculated, very charismatic, very deceiving, care about their image so much. And it drives me crazy how the word narcissist is just thrown around all over the place. And when people say narcissist, what they actually are trying to say is that someone's just like extremely selfish. That is so different. So go look up the definition before you continue throwing that around, because some of us have genuinely dealt with textbook narcissists, textbook psychopaths in our life. And even then, I somehow find compassion for those people because they're wounded. They're trying to find their way. And along the way, they're making really bad decisions. I'm going to go finish this movie now. I did not think this episode would be this long, but here we are. It felt really, really important to say. Some of these things I honestly never thought that I would be saying out loud to anyone, much less on a podcast. And I hope that this helps someone. And if you haven't seen the movie, It Ends With Us, go watch it. Especially if you're in a situation, it will help you to see through the bullshit, see through the lies, see through the deceitfulness. You deserve the fucking world. You deserve a positive relationship that you never feel scared or anxious in. You deserve a relationship where you never have a doubt in your mind of how solid it is. You deserve a relationship that you don't have to make excuses to your friends about that person. You don't have to try to convince your friends to like them. That's also a big red flag. I should have fucking listened. My best friend told me for months, I don't know. I don't trust him. I don't like him. I would defend this man tooth and nail to her. I would say, oh, but this, oh, but that. I should have fucking listened. She would say, Bolly's kind of scared of him. That's kind of weird. And I was like, no, Bolly's just anxious. I should have fucking listened. And the crazy part is, a couple of weeks before the final situation happened, my friend was over with her boyfriend for her birthday to celebrate. And I let my boyfriend at the time come over for it, even though I hadn't allowed him at my house prior to that. And after that time, she said, oh my God, I think I'm finally starting to get it. I think I finally kind of like him. And then a couple weeks later, all of this fucking blows up. So if you're listening to this, you are so fucking right. You've been right the whole time. I should have listened. This is me conceding publicly that you were right. And it's really important to trust. If you have really good friends in your life who will tell you like it is, like she did for me, listen. Please fucking listen. You could be saving yourself a world of hurt. So again, you should never have to feel like you are proving things to people about someone that you're in a relationship with, or even friendship, because they should be showing who they are through their acts and through their words. You shouldn't have to do it for them. If they're a genuine person, an intentional person who's genuinely caring and compassionate and kind and gracious. So I got done watching the movie. When I came back to the movie, I noticed that I had about 35 minutes left. And first of all, I am very happy with the outcome of it. It was a little bit of a roller coaster for that last 30 minutes of the movie, but I think that it was just such a powerful message. And I really like how they really portray how it is not easy to cut ties with someone no matter how much they've hurt you, especially when you still somehow see the good in them and you want to trust them. Something that came into my mind was another example of a red flag, but at the same time, why I had a little bit more compassion for this person. I think this was like maybe halfway through our relationship, and we had done a tab of acid and we were just at his house. And at one point he was having a really, really hard time. And I was totally fine. Like, it didn't really feel strong to me at all. And he was really struggling, and he just kept saying, I feel like I'm just a bad person. I'm a bad person. I just feel like I'm a bad person. And we had to like go outside and go on a walk and like calm him down. And we walked like down to the lake, and then he like was tossing and turning all night, and I could not sleep at all because I was just like trying to keep him calm. And I didn't, at that time, my inner compass just had so much compassion for this person that it was almost like I unintentionally put like the lies that I knew had happened and stuff to the side. I feel like when you have experiences like that, you almost like unintentionally put the hurt to the side because they're showing their humanness. They're showing this level of self-awareness. And, you know, I didn't know if it was calculated, like it was drug induced, him having these feelings. So I was like, oh, okay, like maybe this is like, he's like really having a crisis here, like realizing this. And honestly, this was pretty early in our relationship. I think that this was before I really was getting strong intuitive hits, like get the fuck out. And so I just want to reiterate how challenging it can be to leave someone, no matter how much they've hurt you, when you still see a glimmer of hope for them and you want the best for them. And you've also had some really good times with them, and you've been able to have good experiences because of being with them. I say that because unless you've been in a situation like that with an abuser or with a narcissistic person, it's hard to understand. It's like, well, what do you mean? Why would you not just leave? Common sense says get the fuck out, right? But when you're in that situation, there's something that happens in your mind, your brain, and your emotional body that you hold on to that hope. You hold on to every little glimmer that you get. And also there's a fear associated there, right? Depending on how severe the situation is, there can be a fear of like, it could be worse if I leave. Like, you know, they could come after me. I didn't personally have that fear. I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful that once I ended it, I really, really stood my ground, and that was that. But there was a time before that I tried to end it, and I kind of let him back in, even though I knew what he was capable of. And so I think that it's a very tender, multifaceted subject. It's something that if you are witnessing someone else going through it, you have to take pretty gently with them, because there are so many things that you are not seeing, so many layers to it, so much that you probably will never understand unless you've been put in that situation. And if you have, then you know just how tender and gentle you need to be. It's in some ways kind of similar to when someone has an addiction and they're like, yeah, I know I need to get help, but then they keep going back to it. And you're like, what are you doing? Why are you going back to that? There's something that happens in your brain, and it's so fucking hard. The mom in the movie she said to her mom, why did you stay? And the mom said, because leaving was harder. Leaving is the harder way out for sure in many ways, but actually easier in other ways, because you actually give yourself a chance. You give yourself a chance to find a really passionate and equally safe love. You give yourself an opportunity to find something that feels equally exciting and secure. You're no longer playing with this weird sense of like excitement from lust and anxiety. And sometimes if you've only really had unhealthy relationships, you don't know how good it can be on the other side. Like, I was genuinely thinking like, okay, well, this is how it goes. This is the best I can get. Because my relationship with my ex-husband honestly was never healthy. I don't think he's a terrible person at all. We just were not good partners together. And there was a lot of secrets being kept from me that I still to this day will never know, like the extent of them all. And at the same time, I was like, well, this is the way it goes. Like, you marry your high school sweetheart and then maybe, get a house, have kids, whatever. But I never actually wanted any of that. But I fell into all of it because I'm like, I guess that's how it goes. I couldn't really see myself with anyone else. And then when I finally got the courage to leave after I had tried for years and years to break up with him, I felt such a sense of release and freedom. And then I get to Portland and I start dating this person. And again, I felt a lot of genuine love, like a lot of actual, like I still think parts of it were genuine. I really do. But there is so much under the surface that is just straight up hurt. And when people act from that place of hurt, it can really take a toll on you because they might not realize that they are acting from that place of hurt. And you probably have no idea what exactly that hurt is. And sometimes people do know that they're acting from a place of hurt and they, try to get help or something. But sometimes it's not the right kind of help. It's not something that actually helps them to get through what it is that they've been feeling. And they still continue to act out on that hurt. And I think that that's like where my heart hurts the most. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched this movie and you want to, skip ahead like a minute here. In the movie, it becomes apparent that he has been acting from this place of hurt because he accidentally shot his brother when he was 6 years old. They were playing around with their dad's gun. And then the girl decides to name her daughter that she had with her abuser, her husband, after his late brother. And that is such a prominent act of compassion. And then right after that, she asks him for divorce and stands very firm in it and is so much happier off from that point. And I had tears in my eyes. I was like, wow, beautiful representation of you can still have compassion for someone and recognize that they've been acting from a place of hurt, and you can still have your own boundaries and protect yourself and protect the people around you. Anyway, I think it was an incredible movie. I just am blown away by it. I think that everyone should watch it so that you know what to look out for, so that you know what a relationship should not look like ever. Even in the very beginning of the movie, the way that he was talking to her and the way that he was like chasing her around the one party, I was cringing the whole time because I'm like, oh my God, this is all too familiar. This is too familiar. He's like wooing her and oh my gosh. Anyway, so much to say about this movie. I hope that this episode helps you to do a little bit of self-reflection, to do some introspection, to understand how much self-worth matters, to understand how our decisions affect the rest of our lives. And I hope that you remember that you are never stuck. I know that in some situations it can feel like you are stuck, but you are never, ever stuck. When I was separated from my ex-husband, I separated right before COVID hit. And then no one was renting out apartments or anything for months. And so we were stuck together in the apartment. And I was like, fuck, there's no end in sight. And neither of us could afford to move out on our own in LA. And I did feel stuck. And I still figured it out. And you will too. Trust yourself. Trust your soul. You are such a beautiful being. You deserve the most beautiful life. Full of love, full of excitement, full of joy. Thank you so much for tuning in here. Thank you so much for holding space. Thank you for holding space for yourself. Don't forget, if you need anything, please reach out to me. My handle on Instagram is Playful Embodiment, PlayfulEmbodiment. Find me on TikTok. You can find me on Facebook as well. I'm wishing you so much love wherever you are right now, whatever you're doing. I hope you feel the energy that I'm sending to you. Remember that you are so much more powerful than you think. You are so much more brave than you think. You do have the courage and the strength deep within you. All you have to do is dig in there and scoop it up and hold it tight. Remember that no feeling is permanent. Everything in this lifetime is temporary. So although it may feel like the most intense, shittiest thing you've ever done, it will feel better, especially when you build community and you find people who can resonate with you, who can support you, who can be empathetic for you. I love you. Keep shining, keep aligning, and we'll talk next time. Bye.